The Lord be with you and with your spirit. My dear brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in every soul's journey where all human efforts collapse. You try to fix it, you try to fight it, you try to plan it, control it, work it out, but nothing moves. The walls don't budge, the mountain doesn't shift. And in that moment when your knees hit the ground and your tears soak the floor, when your strength fails and your logic surrenders, there lies the most powerful place a human being can stand. The place of prayer, the place of trust, the place where God is not just your last option, He is your only hope. And in that sacred surrender, that's where God begins to do the impossible. You may be facing something right now that feels too big, too broken, too far gone. Maybe the doctor said it's incurable. Maybe the financial debt feels like a sea you cannot swim. Maybe the relationship is torn beyond repair. Or your soul is so weary you don't even know how to cry anymore. But let me tell you, when you pray and when you trust that God will move, when you release your problem into the hands of the one who created the stars and commands the wind, then you have done the most powerful thing a human can ever do. The world teaches you to hustle, to scheme, to manipulate your way through life. But prayer, real prayer, is not weakness. It is the boldest act of war against darkness. It is a declaration that you believe in a power far greater than anything you can touch or see. It is saying, God, I cannot, but you can. And that trust, that surrender, is the soil where miracles begin to grow. Some of you have been praying for years and haven't seen an answer yet. You wonder if God hears you. You wonder if anything is happening at all. But let me ask you, do you think God has forgotten you? Do you believe the Almighty, who parts seas and raises dry bones, cannot handle your situation? Do not mistake silence for absence. God is not ignoring you. He is building something in you. He is stretching your faith. He is preparing the perfect time. And when His appointed moment comes, no force on earth, no demon in hell, no man, no system can stop what He is about to do. Do not let time weaken your trust. Do not let delay devalue your hope. For when you pray with faith, you are aligning yourself with the very will and power of God. You are inviting the eternal into your temporary. You are calling down heaven into your battle. And my friend, there is no limit to what God can do when a person truly believes. Look around this world. People put their trust in money, in science, in governments, in philosophies, in their own abilities. But all of that crumbles. All of that fails. But those who trust in God stand unshaken. You can be broke but still at peace. You can be sick but still confident. You can be alone but still bold. Because you know that your help doesn't come from man, it comes from the Almighty. And when He steps in, the impossible becomes possible. Prayer is not just words. It's not just rituals. It is communion with the one who breathes galaxies into existence. It is intimate access to the throne room of the King of all creation. And when you trust Him, when you come not as a beggar but as a believer, not doubting but expecting, God begins to move in ways you cannot imagine. He does not need permission from people to bless you. He does not need logic to make a way. He does not need your credentials or your connections. All He needs is your faith, that mustard seed trust that says, God, I believe you can do what no one else can. And God honors that kind of faith. He is drawn to it. He responds to it. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way that's best. Some of you have been told it's too late. The enemy whispers, you never recover. You never get out. You never be free. But God says, I make rivers in the desert. I call things that are not as though they are. I open doors no man can shut. You have to stop measuring your future by what you see right now. Stop letting your emotions dictate your faith. What you feel is not always what is real. What you see is not always the full picture. God works in the invisible. He works behind the scenes. And when you least expect it, He will show up in a way that leaves you in awe. You must be willing to wait and worship, to pray and praise, to trust even when there's no sign, because that is the very definition of faith. Believing when there is no evidence, trusting when there is no proof, holding on when there is no reason left but God. And that kind of faith, that kind of relentless trust, it moves the heart of God. There is a divine timing to everything. Some breakthroughs come instantly, and others come through a process. But when you commit to prayer, not as a task, but as a lifestyle, you begin to see things from a higher perspective. You no longer panic at the storms because you know who is in the boat with you. You no longer fear the fire because you know God is in the flames. And you no longer chase after man's approval because you're anchored in the assurance that God is for you, and that is enough. You have to speak what you believe, not what you feel. Speak victory when you see defeat. Speak life when you see death. Speak breakthrough when you see breakdown. Because your words are seeds. And faith speaks even before the harvest appears. Every time you pray, you are watering that seed. Every time you trust, you are pulling it closer to manifestation. You don't need to see it to believe it. You need to believe it. And then you will see it. You trust to treat you. Do not let the size of your problem intimidate your faith. Let the size of your goat intimidate your problem. He is not limited by what limits you. He is not scared by what scares you. When you put your trust in God, you are stepping out of natural limitation and into supernatural possibility. And yes, the enemy will try to distract you. He'll try to discourage you. He'll use delay to make you doubt. But if you just keep praying, if you keep trusting, if you keep standing even when it hurts, God will honor your perseverance. Heaven does not overlook persistent faith. God does not ignore a heart that keeps crying out. In fact, sometimes the battle gets hardest right before the breakthrough. That's not the time to quit. It's the time to push harder in prayer. You must remember, God's delays are not His denials. He is never early and never late. He moves when the moment is right or when the story will bring Him the most glory. And sometimes He allows the situation to become utterly impossible so that when He moves, no one can steal His glory. It won't be your wisdom, your power, or your talent. It will be clear to everyone around you. This was God and God alone. There's someone listening right now who feels like all hope is gone. You prayed, but nothing changed. You've trusted, but the burden still feels heavy. Let me speak directly to your spirit. God has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. There is something happening in the spiritual realm that your eyes cannot yet see. But it's real, it's powerful, and it's coming. The breakthrough you're waiting for may not come the way you expected. God's answers often look different than our requests, but they're always better, always wiser, always more complete. That's why you must pray with open hands, not clench fists. Let God be God. Let Him write the story. Let Him choose the method. You just keep trusting, keep believing, keep expecting. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know the details. All you need is the confidence that God is able and willing to do the impossible. And He will, not for your glory, but for His, not to elevate your name, but to lift up your trust. And when it does, your story will become a testimony. Your pain will become purpose. Your trial will become triumph. Every great move of God starts with someone who dares to believe. Someone who prays like it's already done. Someone who stands on the promises, not on the circumstances. Someone who shuts out the noise of doubt and tunes in to the whisper of God's faithfulness. Be that person. Be the one who refuses to give up. Be the one who walks by faith, not by sight. Because prayer is not just talking. It's trusting. It's surrendering your need to control and saying, God, I believe your way is better. And when you live like that, when you breathe faith, walk in trust, and pray without ceasing, then you become unstoppable. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is within you. You may be tired, you may feel weak, but your strength is not the source of your victory. God is, and He never runs out, and He never grows weary, He never fails. So pray like the answer is already on the way. Trust like the breakthrough is just around the corner. Because with God, nothing, absolutely nothing is impossible. When you kneel in prayer, you are not just making a request, you are activating a covenant with the Almighty. You are declaring, God, you alone have the power, you alone have the wisdom, you alone are my source. And the moment you make that declaration from the depths of your soul, the atmosphere begins to shift. The chains in the unseen begin to loosen. The clouds of confusion start to clear. Why? Because when the human heart fully surrenders to God with unwavering trust, all of creation responds to that faith. Mountains tremble, storms weigh, and doors begin to open. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. That pressure, that anxiety, that fear, it was never yours to bear. It belongs in the hands of the one who shaped the heavens and knows the number of hairs on your head. God is not watching from a distance. He's involved. He's invested. And He is moving even when you feel stuck. Sometimes God's greatest work is done in the waiting. Sometimes the silence is a strategy, not His absence. He is sculpting something in you that cannot be rushed. And while you wait, He asks only one thing, that you pray and that you trust. When you pray, do not pray as if you're begging. Pray as one who knows the authority of the one you're speaking to. When you ask, do not come with the spirit of defeat, but with bold expectation. God honors confidence in Him, not arrogance, not pride, but holy boldness. The kind that says, even if the whole world turns against me, I will still stand firm, because my hope is in the one who never changes. That kind of trust is a magnet for miracles. It calls heaven to attention. It demands a response from the throne of power. You must rise above your emotions. Feelings fluctuate like the wind, but truth remains unshaken. And the truth is, God has never failed, not once. His record is perfect. He delivered when there was no way. He provided when the cupboards were bare. He protected when the enemy encamps on every side. Do not let a temporary struggle make you doubt eternal power. Trust is not blind, it's visionary. It sees beyond the now into the realm of what will be. Because when God speaks, it is already done in the unseen. You're just waiting to see it manifest in the physical. Stop asking how will happen. That's not your business. The how belongs to God. Your part is to believe. Your part is to speak as if it's done. To act as if the door is already open. To walk with the posture of someone who knows the breakthrough is inevitable. Faith isn't passive. It moves, it breathes, it expects. So get up from that place of despair and stand in the authority of your prayer. Cry out to God with a voice that refuses to be silenced by fear or failure. Let them laugh. Let them mock. Let them call your trust in God foolish. Because soon they'll witness the hand of God move on your behalf, and all their words will crumble in the light of His glory. God does not let His faithful ones be put to shame. What you prayed for in private, He will reward openly. What you whispered through tears, He will answer with thunder. What you trusted Him with in secret, He will display in the daylight. But understand this, true trust does not come from comfort. It is forged in fire. It is built in the storms. And maybe, just maybe, what you're going through isn't punishment, but preparation. Maybe the delay isn't rejection, but redirection. God is not trying to break you. He is trying to build you. And in the process, He is teaching you to pray without ceasing, to believe without doubting, and to trust without build. And in the process, He's teaching you to pray without ceasing, to believe without doubting, and to trust without borders. Destiny is making place for you too, and Tulio Bredos. In the process, He would be testing you, in the source said, to put you to the proof. Is the test. Stop putting limits on what God can do. He does not operate within the boundaries of human reason. He passes with wind. He feeds multitudes without kitchens. He creates outcomes no man can explain. That's the God you serve, the God of the impossible. So don't limit Him in your thinking. Don't box Him in with your logic. Don't restrict Him with your fear. Instead, open your heart wide. Let your faith rise like a flood. Declare with every breath, my God is able. My God is willing. My God will do what no one else can. There are blessings with your name on them waiting on the other side of your obedience. There are miracles that are triggered by your surrender. And yes, there are battles that will not be won by fighting harder, but by trusting deeper. There are victories that will come not when you strive, but when you rest in God's timing and power. So don't confuse movement with progress. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to be still, pray, and trust. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to press in harder, to speak louder in prayer, to fight not with fists, but with faith, because you are not alone. God is with you. He goes before you. He stands behind you. He surrounds you, and He will not allow you to be defeated when your trust is anchored in Him. Be warned, there will be voices trying to pull you into fear. People will say, be realistic, but you were called to be realistic. You were called to be faithful. God is not bound by statistics. He is not hindered by diagnosis. He is not threatened by the odds. He is above them all. So let your faith be louder than the facts. Let your prayer be stronger than your panic. Let your trust in God drown out every voice of doubt. And when the answer comes, and it will come, you will not only rejoice, but you will understand why you had to wait, why you had to weep, why you had to walk alone for a season, because God was preparing you for something greater than you imagined. was stretching your capacity, deepening your roots, expanding your faith, and now you are ready to carry the weight of the blessing that's about to be poured into your life. Keep praying, keep trusting. Not because you see the signs, but because you know the one who holds the signs. Not because you feel strong, but because you know God is your strength. Not because it makes sense, but because you believe in the one who sees what you cannot. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not too late or too far gone. You are exactly where God wants you to be, for His power to be revealed, for His name to be glorified, and for your life to become a living testimony. That prayer and trusting God will make the impossible bold. And when that day comes, when the floodgates burst open, when the answer arrives, when the healing flows, when the chains fall off, when the door swings wide, you will not say, "Look what I did." No, you will say, "Look what God has done. I prayed, I trusted, and God did the impossible." And listen to me carefully now. This is not just about waiting for a miracle. It's about becoming the kind of person who trusts God so completely that your peace is unshakable, your faith is untouchable, and your hope burns brighter even in the darkest valley. This is about spiritual maturity. Anyone can pray when life is smooth, but it takes divine strength to trust God when the winds howl and the waves crash. And that's when real faith is revealed, not in the absence of pressure, but in the presence of it. Trust becomes your torch when the night is long, and prayer becomes your oxygen when it feels like you're drowning. And let me tell you, God honors that kind of resilience. You must begin to see delay not as a denial, but as development. You are being forged in fire, not forgotten. You are being refined, not rejected. And when God is done shaping you, molding you, preparing you, nothing will be able to stop what He has planned for your life. The doors you thought were closed forever will begin to open. The opportunities that bypassed you will circle back around. The healing that seemed out of reach will come rushing in. But first, God must bring your trust to a place where it's no longer attached to outcome. It's attached to Him alone. Do not tie your trust to results. Tie it to God's character, because His ways are higher than yours. His thoughts are deeper than yours, and His timing is wiser than anything you could plan. Sometimes what you call a delay is God's divine protection. What you think is punishment is actually preparation. God is not in the business of instant gratification. He's in the business of eternal transformation. And every tear you shed in secret, every prayer you whisper in the quiet, every moment you choose to believe, when everything screams doubt, God sees it all, and He rewards it in His time. It's easy to want answers. It's natural to crave closure. But faith doesn't feed on answers. It feeds on trust. And when you begin to walk by trust and not by sight, you enter into a realm where miracles are born. You become someone who no longer needs to see it to believe it. You believe it, and therefore you see it. You begin to speak with authority because you've been in the presence of the Almighty. You walk through storms with calm because your anchor is not in circumstance, it is in God. And let me tell you, God doesn't just want to do the impossible in your life. He wants to make you a vessel that carries His power to others. He wants your life to be so saturated in prayer, so rooted in trust, that others can look at you and say, "There's something different about this one. There's a strength here that's not human. There's a peace that can't be explained." That's the kind of impact that comes when you truly trust God. You no longer live like the world. You no longer panic like the world. You operate on a higher frequency, a divine rhythm. because you know who holds your life. Some of you are in situations right now where you feel like the walls are closing in. The enemy wants you to believe it's over, that God is turned away, that you're on your own. But I'm here to tell you, God is closest when you feel the weakest. He does His best work when you've run out of options. And if you dare to trust Him now, right here in this impossible moment, you are going to witness the kind of power that cannot be explained by reason or logic. The power of God will be explained by reason or logic. The kind of power that only God can display. You must learn to speak to your situation with authority. You must declare, even when your voice shakes, that you will not be moved. You will not give up. You will not stop believing, because your God is greater than every fear, every obstacle, every attack, every lie, every delay. Say it with me now. My trust is in God alone. I will not be shaken. I will not be silenced. I will not be discouraged. Let that be the anthem of your life. Let it rise in your spirit like a fire that cannot be quenched. Trust is not just an emotional decision. It is a spiritual discipline. It must be built daily, watered by prayer, guarded by worship, sustained by reflection. You must constantly remind yourself of who God is. Look back at the times He carried you, the battles He already won, the doors He already opened, and know this: if He did it before, He will do it again. Maybe not the same way, maybe not in the same timing, but He will move. Because God is faithful to every promise. Don't get distracted by the voices of fear. Don't get swallowed by the news, the gossip, the noise. Block out every sound that contradicts the voice of God. Build your mind on truth. Meditate on the power and greatness of God. Speak words that build your spirit, not break it. And pray with the confidence of someone who knows that God is not far off, not uninterested, not unaware. He is near. He is active and He is listening. Prayer is not a ritual. It is a lifeline. It is the meeting place between your weakness and God's strength. It is the bridge between your confusion and God's clarity. It is where burdens are lifted, vision is restored, and courage is reborn. And the more you pray, the stronger your trust grows, until one day, what once terrified you becomes the very ground you dance upon. What once overwhelmed you becomes the testimony you share with others. Because God will take the pain that nearly broke you and use it to build you. So do not back down, do not retreat, do not fall into despair. You're not defeated. You are in process. You are not overlooked. You are being positioned. Every setback is setting the stage. Every closed door is being used to direct your steps. God is orchestrating details you don't even know about. And when the fullness of time comes, when all the pieces align, what seemed impossible will suddenly become reality. But remember, the greatest miracle is not the thing you're asking for. It is what God is doing inside you while you wait. He is making your heart steadfast. He is making your spirit unbreakable. He's forming you into someone who doesn't just believe in God's power. You live in it. You move in it. You walk in it. You speak from it. You no longer just know of God, you know Him intimately. And once you reach that level of trust, no storm can shake you again. There is nothing more powerful than a person who prays without doubt and trusts without limits. That kind of person cannot be manipulated by circumstances. They cannot be held back by fear. They cannot be destroyed by trials, because They are connected to the eternal. They are rooted in the unshakable, and they walk through life knowing no matter what comes, God is with me. And if God is with me, I cannot fail. And now I speak to the depths of your soul, the place where fear often whispers louder than faith, where doubt knocks on the door of your destiny, where delay tries to make you question your worth. Let me remind you with thunderous certainty, your prayers are not in vain. Your trust is not wasted. Every cry you've uttered, every tear you've shed in the solitude of your struggle has been heard and seen by God. He has not turned away. He has not abandoned you. He is closer now than ever before, silently moving, divinely orchestrating, and preparing a blessing that far exceeds your request. You must understand that God is not limited by time the way we are. What feels like years of silence to you could be moments in the divine design. God is eternal. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows what lies behind every closed door and what miracle waits behind every trial. And sometimes He allows you to walk through fire, not to burn you, but to refine you, to purify your faith, to burn away the dependency on others, on outcomes, on circumstances, until all you're left with is complete, unshakable trust in Him alone. That, my friend, is when the impossible becomes possible. Not when you have all the answers, not when everything feels good, but when your trust is so anchored in God that you can walk through the valley and declare, even here I believe. When you can face the lion's den, the furnace, the flood, and say with trembling courage, my God is able. That's when the atmosphere begins to shift. That's when God's hand begins to move, not just for you, but through you. You see, true trust doesn't wait for evidence, it becomes the evidence. It doesn't echo the voice of the world, it drowns it out. And prayer, real prayer, isn't about repeating fancy words. It's about aligning your entire being with the will and wisdom of God. It's about opening your spirit to say, God, not my way, not my timeline, not my plan, but yours. That is the most dangerous and powerful place you can live from, because you are no longer relying on the strength of man. You are relying fully on the might of God. When you pray and trust, you stop panicking at every setback. You stop questioning your worth because of other people's opinions. You stop doubting your future because of what the Word says is possible. Because you know who holds you tomorrow. You know who commands the wind and tells the oceans where to stop. You know who sustains the heavens and governs the earth. And that same God is sustaining you right now, at this very moment. Even if everything around you feels like it's crumbling, listen closely. The greater the battle, the greater the blessing on the other side. The deeper the pain, the more glorious the purpose it's birthing. The trial you're in is not the end of your story, it's the chapter that leads to your testimony. But only if you don't give up. Only if you keep praying through the silence, trusting through the delay, and praising through the pain, because God is not done with you. No, He's just getting started. Some of you are waiting on a miracle, but God is waiting on you. Waiting for you to let go of your grip on fear. Waiting for you to stop depending on your own strength. Waiting for you to stop talking about how big the problem is and start declaring how limitless He is. It is not your job to figure everything out. Your job is to believe, to trust, to pray with boldness and stand in unshakable faith. No matter how long the night lasts, the night may be dark, but God is the master of dawn. He brings morning with a single command. He speaks and creation obeys. If he could carve the mountains, separate the seas, and hang the sun in the sky, what is your situation in comparison? If he sustains the galaxies with precision, don't you think he can sustain you? If he opens the womb of the barren, parts the seas for the faithful, and delivers the oppressed from armies, do you not believe he can do the same for you? And if the answer hasn't come yet, if the door hasn't opened yet, if the healing hasn't arrived yet, then trust this truth. God is still working behind the scenes in ways you can't see, in people you don't know, in places you've never been. And when the appointed time comes, and it will come, it will be so perfect, so divine, that you'll fall to your knees, not asking, why did it take so long, but thanking him that he didn't give it to you a moment sooner. This journey of trust is not just about what God will do for you. It's about who you become through the process. God wants to birth in you a deeper strength, a bolder voice, a more refined spirit. He wants your life to echo his power. He wants you to walk in such authority that when storms come, you don't flinch. When opposition rises, you don't flee. When fear knocks, you don't answer, because you know who you belong to. You know who you stand with. And you know that nothing, absolutely nothing, is impossible for God. So don't let discouragement take root. Don't let the temporary steal the eternal. Don't let the shadow block the light of God's promise. When your mind says this will never work, let your soul rise up and declare, but God can. When the facts say it's over, let your faith shout, God has the final word. When everything around you says be afraid, let your trust in God roar back, I will not fear. Let me speak now to the one who's been on the edge of quitting. The one who has prayed for so long and seen nothing change. The one who wonders if they heard God wrong. You didn't. You are still on the right path. Do not turn back. The very resistance you feel is confirmation that something powerful is on the way. The enemy fights the hardest when he knows a breakthrough is near. Your prayer is shaking the heaven. Your trust is stirring divine action, and God is watching not with indifference, but with great delight. Your faith right now in this very moment is being recorded in the eternal record of heaven. Your tears are being caught, your sighs are being heard, your name is being whispered in the courts of glory. And soon, when the fullness of time has come, God will move. And when he moves, you'll understand why you had to wait, why it had to be hard, why the journey seemed long. Because he was preparing you to receive something bigger than you asked for. So lift your head, wipe your tears, square your shoulders, and pray again. Trust again, speak life again. Because God has not forgotten you. God has not failed you. God has not changed his mind about you. And what he promised, he will perform. What he spoke, he will fulfill. What he started, he will complete, not by your strength, not by your wisdom, not by your connections, but by the power of God, who alone can do what no man can, who alone can change in a moment what years could not, and who alone deserves every ounce of your trust. Keep praying, keep trusting, and watch. Yes, watch as the impossible bows before the Almighty. And now, let your heart be still and your ears be open. Healing? For what I speak next is not from the intellect of man, but from the depth of the soul that has tasted the fire and knows the faithfulness of God. There's a realm you can only enter through unwavering trust, a place not reached by status, not unlocked by influence, not accessed through intellect, but opened only by the heart that believes, truly believes that God is greater than all things visible and invisible. And when your soul begins to live in that truth, then prayer becomes more than a practice. It becomes your power. Trust becomes more than a word. It becomes your weapon. God is not moved by fancy words, eloquent speech, or rehearsed rituals. He's moved by the heart that is bowed before Him in humility, by the Spirit that cries out, "You alone are my helper." And when you reach the end of yourself, when your plans fail, your strength fades, and your resources run dry, God does not leave you empty. He fills what is surrendered. He empowers what is yielded. He lifts what is bowed low. So if you feel weak today, if you feel empty, you are in the perfect position for God to do something extraordinary in your life. But hear me clearly. There is a price to be paid for real trust. It is not cheap. It is not comfortable. It demands your pride. It crushes your ego. It strips you of the illusion that you are in control. And in that secret place of dependence, God builds you. He breaks what is false so He can establish what is true. He tears down every idol, every distraction, every false sense of security, so that you may stand with clean hands and a pure heart before Him. When God wants to elevate a person, He doesn't start by lifting them up. He starts by stripping them down, because He knows that only a heart purified by pain and refined by pressure can carry the kind of power He is about to pour out. That's why you cannot despise the struggle. You cannot curse the process. You must trust that even in the silence, even in the loss, even in the confusion, God is at work. And what He is building in you is not ordinary, it is sacred. It is eternal. It is strong enough to carry not just a blessing, but a divine purpose. Your trust in God must become your identity, not a backup plan, not a second option, not something you run to only when life breaks down, but the very foundation upon which you stand, breathe, and move. That is where real transformation happens. That is where prayers stop being wishful thinking and become declarations of faith. That is where you stop living from fear and start living from power. The world will look at your storm and call it failure. But God sees your storm and calls it preparation, because He knows what He is about to do with your life. And sometimes He allows the flood so you learn to build an ark. Sometimes He permits the wilderness so you learn how to follow the cloud. Sometimes He hides the answer so your trust will become pure, not based on reward, but on relationship. And when you begin to live like that, when your entire being is anchored in God alone, then you will no longer be shaken by delay or discouraged by defeat. You'll walk through the fire and not smell of smoke. You'll face the lions and never flinch, because you will know that nothing can touch what God has covered. Nothing can stop what God has spoken. Nothing can overturn what God has ordained. Some of you are praying for healing, but God is first healing your faith. You're asking for open doors, but God is making sure your character can handle what's behind them. You're crying for the mountain to move, but God is teaching your spirit how to climb. Because God is not just concerned with what you want. He is committed to who you are becoming. And the only way to become someone who carries divine purpose is to learn how to trust even when it hurts. There is a sacred confidence that comes when you trust God. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, is not based on who you are, but on who He is, you begin to walk into rooms differently. You face your challenges differently. You look at life with a steadiness that confuses people because they see the storm, but you see the one who commands it. They see the fire, but you know the one who controls the flame. And even when you're surrounded by impossibility, you walk in peace because you know God is with you. And that trust, that holy trust, it becomes contagious. Others will see your faith and be strengthened. They will witness your endurance and be inspired. They will watch you worship through the storm and begin to question everything they thought they knew about strength. Because when a person truly trusts God, they become a living example of His power, a light in darkness, a voice of hope in a hopeless world. But you must choose it daily. You must feed your faith. You must protect your trust like a treasure. You must guard your heart from the lies of fear, from the poison of doubt, from the voices that say it's too late, it'll never happen, God has forgotten you. Because those are not the whispers of God. They are the tactics of the enemy designed to kill your courage and silence your prayers. Reject every lie that says you are unworthy, that you are forgotten, that you are broken beyond repair. God does not deal in hopeless cases. He specializes in resurrection stories. He takes what man throws away and He uses it to reveal His glory. And your life is no exception. If you can still breathe, then He can still move. If you can still pray, then the heavens can still open. If you can still trust, then the impossible is still within reach. Do not waste your energy comparing your journey to someone else's. Their timing is not your timing. Their path is not your path. Trust that God knows the unique blueprint He has for you. He knows your strengths, your wounds, your past, your potential. And He's writing a story that is beyond what you can comprehend. A story that will make sense only when you see the masterpiece He has been weaving through your pain. So today, choose trust over turmoil. Choose prayer over panic. Choose faith over fear. Stand in the truth that God is not just able, He is willing. He is not just powerful, He is personal. He sees you. He knows you. He cares for you. And if you will walk with Him, trust Him, and stay close to Him, then your life will not be defined by your struggle, but by your surrender. Not by your pain, but by your prayer. Not by the impossible, but by the God who makes all things possible. And now as you stand at the crossroads of your decision, will you keep worrying, doubting, and depending on your own strength? Or will you rise up in faith, fall to your knees in prayer, and trust that God will do what no one else can do? This is your moment. The moment to shift your perspective. The moment to stop limiting God to your understanding. The moment to stop waiting for signs and start walking in faith. Because God is not waiting on your perfection. He's waiting on your trust. He's not demanding your strength. He's asking for your surrender. The impossible is not for the powerful, it is for the faithful. And if you are willing to believe, willing to pray, willing to stand, even when everything says fall, then nothing will be impossible for you. God is still moving. God is still answering. God is still opening doors no man can shut. And the same power that created the heavens and the earth is ready to move on your behalf. But you must pray like it's already done. Trust like the answer is already written. And live like the breakthrough is already unfolding. Don't let fear write your story. Don't let doubt steal your miracle. Let your life be a testament, not to your ability, but to your unshakable faith in the one who makes all things possible. Thanked. Because when you pray and trust God fully, He will do more than you ask, sooner than you expect, and greater than you imagine. So rise not in fear, but in faith. Walk not in confusion, but in confidence. Speak not in defeat, but in divine expectation, and trust this one eternal truth. God will do the impossible